Okay, so here's the crazy, silly, dumb, weird concept for these live streams, okay? You're going to pick a topic that you're an expert in what on this the thing that's on the list that's on the screen, and you're going to explain it to me like I'm 9, which means you're going to explain the most important thing and you're going to boil it down so a 9-year-old would understand it. So I'm the dummy. I'm the inexperienced one here, and you get to pick a topic and you get to crystallize it for me. Does anybody have any questions about my silly little concept for the silly little live stream? Or if there are no questions, does anyone want to volunteer to pick a topic and go first?
I'd like to talk about AI if nobody else wants to, just in a very pragmatic
Sure.
way. Let me know. Go ahead.
So I'm 9 years old, and but I'm keenly interested in marketing, apparently, as a 9-year-old. And so I'm wondering about sort of the future and the present and AI in marketing. So, like, what's the core thing I need to really understand to understand everything else, so to speak, Casey, about AI and marketing?
Yeah, so AI is here, right? There's no more guessing about it. It's going to be part of your life, Mr. 9-year-old, as you're growing up. The good news is that there's a saying that goes with it. AI isn't going to take your job, but somebody who knows AI or knows how to use AI may take your job. So what AI is to you is it's going to allow you to get through a lot of the tasks that would take a lot of time for you to do. It's going to help you go through data much quicker. What it's not going to do is it's not going to write your report for you. You're going to be able to just hand it off to your teacher. It may write a report for you, but you need to go over it and double check it to make sure that it's accurate and makes sense. Because that's one of the problems or challenges with AI is that it does help us do things quicker, but still there needs to be oversight. So as a 9-year-old, it's an exciting time that you're going to be able to do a lot more. You're going to be able to access a lot more, but you still need to understand what you're looking at and learn along the way. So that would be my explanation to AI. And again, it can be content writing. If you have to write a report, give more context, write a report, have to do some research, things like that. And even if you're given a big story that they want you to put a summary on it, you can actually have AI dump it in there and give you a summary to look it over. And again, all of this you need to double check the work to make sure it's accurate and things like that.
So how's it going to be used by agencies or marketing teams or even CMOs? What are they going to do?
Yeah.
What will they be able to do that they can't do today?
Everything I just said, but quicker. So that's a great question, Dean, because I just met with a group yesterday. And this is probably the second time I've heard this. They said, my content writers are producing more content than they ever have using AI, but there's problems with it. Things to AI, construction company, time and attendance tracking, whatever that is. And it's creating all this content and pushing it back. And they're just lightly going over it and saying it's okay. There's a couple of subjects you have in here, like understanding who the person is, things like that. You still need to understand your market. You need to understand the persona, your ICP, things like that. That doesn't change.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
I'll leave it
so
there.
I'm going to ask you a couple of questions from perspectives. Okay. So if I'm a CEO, but I need things explained to me, like I'm 9, okay, and I say, Casey, so like, if I'm hiring a CMO or they're telling me about something, like, what's the killer question to make sure they're not about to go off the rails or waste a bunch of my money and time? What do I need to ask the CMO about AI?
Yeah, I would ask the CMO, how are you going to use AI? How do you think it's going to change what you did differently last year? What's going to be the differentiation there? Tell me how you're going to use it. And on another, I was speaking with some folks about using all these different services. And one of the challenges that I've uncovered speaking with some CEOs at some of these SaaS services is the churn. And I asked, why are they churning? And it's the same thing I would ask the CMO. Do you understand the problem you're trying to solve using AI? Are the people around you that are going to benefit from it? Do they understand what AI is going to provide for them? And is it necessary? AI, like we used to say, tech for technology's sake doesn't make sense. So AI,
Right.
same thing with AI. If it's not going to solve a problem, I'd ask the CMO, tell me what problem you're going to solve, how we're going to be better off, more strategic by using AI. And the
Okay.
answer can't be a broad answer. I would want specific answers back from the CMO. I would say, I'm going to analyze our KPIs much better. It's going to help us determine what messaging to send to certain folks from the funnel. I would also do some research on our existing customer base using AI to say, okay, who was a persona that signed the contract? How long did it take? Which channel did they come in? All those things can be done much easier through AI using the right tools. So that's what I would ask the CMO.
Okay. I have a question. This might be a bit blunt. Okay. So I don't do the graphics side in marketing or advertising, but I write a lot of ads. I write TV ads and I write online ads and that kind of stuff. And I've been fascinated with this tool, adcreative.ai. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Basically, it will make I can write the copy and I can put it in headline, sub, the hook, everything. The hardest part's coming up with the hook, right? And then on the graphic side, I can just plug it into the AI tool and it will generate 100 different variations, right? It'll stick to colors and branding if I wanted to, but otherwise it'll put in new stock photos, it'll put in new shapes, it'll create 100 of them, and in a second. And then if I wanted to, I could just load all those up and then let Facebook tell me which one's actually successful. That's an example of what you're talking about, where one person with an AI tool can, take the place of multiple people. Is that right?
Yes, and to your point, like the old saying, the A/B test has kind of gone away. It's the A, B, C,
Mm-hmm.
D, E, F, G, H, et cetera, that you can now test because you can create the content, as you said, quicker, the
Mm-hmm.
hooks, things like that. But I still, I know you, Dean. You're a great writer. I see your emails and stuff like that. And again, I'm a big fan of AI, like everyone else is. Blah blah
Yeah.
blah. But you got to really pay attention to make sure, just because it's created 20 different ads and landing pages and hooks and things like that, that's still representing your brand. So you got to be
Yeah.
careful that the right hook, so to speak, is out there. And you're right. So you can test much more frequently and get the results back quicker. And so
I thought it was fascinating that it could do the graphics and creative side, just spinning off iterations. So I thought it was it's still clunky, right? And it's still repetitive and kind of boring. But on the other hand, if I didn't know any better, I could just have it make 25 ads and go. So yeah. Okay. So a couple people have joined, 3 actually. So guys, yes, all guys. So a quick recap of what we do here. I am a CEO who only understands things when they're told to him at a 9-year-old's level. We have a list of topics. Here they are. You pick a topic where you think you could explain to a 9-year-old, a CEO with a 9-year-old, comprehension level for marketing. In other words, you have to understand what you're talking about and simplify it. And you just pick a topic, and if you're ready, you just tell me you're ready. We'll jump into it, and you're going to explain one of these topics to me like I'm 9 years old. Who wants to go next? Casey was brave enough to go first. You're all experts in at least one of these. Okay, Sarah, which one you want?
Marketing strategy.
Okay, and go.
Okay. So a marketing strategy seems so big and overwhelming, but talking specifically to CEOs,
Mhm.
a marketing strategy should define where marketing slots in your vast tool set to reach your business objectives. So it's not about looking at the great expanse of marketing opportunities and tailoring it to the business is defining what the business objectives are and then seeing where the reality is against those business objectives and cap. So what I find most important is to understand who is your target. What are your business objectives? Are you building to sell? Are you building to get more consumers? Are you building to a B2B company? Are you building a revenue engine? Right? Like being super clear about what it is the objectives are, and then understanding what is your ideal customer profile or your ideal investor profile.
Mm-hmm.
A SWOT analysis to say, given these are the people, right? Marketing is talking to people. Given that these are the people we want to talk to, what's the SWOT analysis that says what are we doing well, what are we doing not so well, where can we do better, and who are our competitors? And I keep challenging CEOs about who their competitors are, right? So working with a financial institution, right? Their competitors are the local financial institutions, but also TikTok influencers who are like, yeah, like it's simply a crypto game, right? Like your competitors may be very different than who they were 10 years ago, and it's not geographic. It is who is taking attention, who's taking the attention that you want to have, and then doing a current state analysis, and then building a to my mind, a marketing strategy should work. It should be a highly reasonable, highly executionable, like highly executable, highly doable roadmap for slotting in marketing to achieve your business goals.
Okay, let me ask some really dumb questions then. So,
Yeah.
like, I'm a founder, and this is my company, and you're my new CMO, fractional CMO. You're talking to me about marketing strategy, and I don't yet have in my head what that deliverable, for want of a better word, is. So,
Mm-hmm.
is that a presentation? Is that a project plan? Is that a calendar of what's going to be done on what days? Right? Is it a
Yeah.
Word document? Is it a multimedia performative art with dance?
Yeah.
Kind
Yeah.
of presentation?
Yeah. It starts with an interpretive dance, and then we
Okay,
just,
good to know.
we see how we feel
Many
after
things do, Sarah.
that.
Many
Yeah,
things.
exactly. So for me, it's a short document. It is a budget, which
Mhm.
which which is essentially the plan of the activities we're going to do and how much it's going to cost. It's a tracking document, which says these are the KPIs that we're tracking against, and this is how we're going to measure it. And it's a detailed calendar of activities. Right.
Okay.
These are the campaigns and tactics we're going to execute against.
All right. Now I understand it.
Mhm.
And it like explodes out at some point to like actual staffers who are going to do things.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And depending on the structure of your organization, it might be like a racy, right? It might be defining who are the
Mhm.
people in which roles and who's going to do which part of it.
All right. All right. Excellent. Thank you. All right. Who else wants to explain? Sarah, you did a great job. Also, Casey, thank you. I often forget, or I'm not good at saying thank you to compliments. So you complimented my writing in my email list. So thank you for that. I should have done that before. At least I remembered now, and not like Sunday. All right. So who's got a topic they want to tackle? All right. Here's Alon. And Alon, what are you going to talk about?
Let's talk about content marketing.
Okay. Go, sir. So all marketing is the same to me. So explain to me, as the founder with, and wants everything explained as a 9-year-old, why is content, what is content marketing, and why is it different than, or what's its place in the universe of marketing?
Sure, absolutely. Content marketing is all the types of content, or almost all the types of content that you will create, whether it's written content, video, podcasts, etc., in order to attract customers or attract prospects, in order to retain customers, and everything else. It's literally everything. Some things are outside of it, like public relations, for example. It's also content, but it's usually handled elsewhere. But content marketing goes throughout through everything that the organization does. Now, here are some questions, some real questions that CEOs asked me. The first question is, what type of content do you recommend? Should we do
Mhm.
more written content like blogs or white papers or articles? Should we do more videos? And the answer is all of the above. The reason is that each person, each one of us, has their own perceptions or their own way of consuming content, of
Right.
understanding things. Some people preferred written, like a white paper. Some people would prefer a short, say a 60 to a 90-second video that explains the exact same concept, but in a visual way. So it's all about preferences, and you have to cover all of it in order to address all of your audience. In addition to that, you need another type of question is there some kind of a golden bullet type of content? And there isn't really. The reason is that you need different types of content throughout the life of or the cycle that you have with your customers. For example, at first, when they don't know about you, when they just research the market, you need content that educates them in general about the market, about yourself. And as you go in the down the cycle or down the pipeline, you need more specific content about your product, your features, the benefits that you will generate for them, etc., etc. So you really need a lot of it in order to drive campaigns, in order to attract customers, in order to serve them along the cycle that they have with you.
Now, when I think of content or content marketing, I think of social media and I think of search engines.
Mhm.
Right? Is that most of it?
I wouldn't say it's most of it. There's a lot more. There's also content that can be on. So social media and SEO, social media is a delivery tool.
Mm-hmm.
A delivery tool can also be a website. A delivery tool can be a blog platform. And SEO is there in order to promote people to get to certain places, usually your website. So these are tools that are helpful, but it's not content per se.
And why do this instead of just advertising?
Um, Great question. First of all, if you can advertise, first of all, it depends on what exactly it is that you do. In my world of B2B technology marketing, you address a very, very specific targeted niche of people. You cannot always reach them with advertising. Even with targeted advertising on LinkedIn, you cannot always reach them. If you're talking about TV or radio, it will be a huge waste of money. Advertising is typically very expensive. Now, if you're talking about advertising like Google Ads, etc., again, it's all about targeting, but even advertising doesn't fully explain what it is that you do, and it doesn't answer all of the questions that customers have.
Okay. And is it cheaper than advertising?
It depends on what you do. It should be cheaper, but again, it depends on what you do. You need good people to create content. I wouldn't advise leveraging an AI from scratch until the end, because AI still creates relatively generic content. It's not yet, maybe someday it will be, but it's not yet a replacement for a human being. So, for example, in order to create a written content, you usually just need one or two people, someone to write it, and afterwards someone to review and edit.
Right.
In order to create, say, a customer video success story, you need an entire team. You need videographers, you need an editor, you need usually a makeup artist to put some makeup on your customer. You need an audio specialist for the recording, etc., etc. So the cost can add up.
So, is it fair to say content marketing is a volume game? I mean, advertising is not necessarily a volume game, but it's definitely like a repetition game. But is content marketing is a volume game? You should always be making more stuff. That's sort of the strategy for content marketing, right?
Yes, it is. You should be making more, but not at the expense of quality. So you should be making more content, but also good quality content, not trash.
Sorry, I had to send someone a note. It's getting noisy in here. Okay. What's like the one takeaway, or what's like the one question? If I hire a fractional CMO and the CMO is really sort of pushing content marketing as the way to go, like what's that one killer question so I can make sure they're not just like full of crap?
Ask them what is the goal, what is the
And what should the goal be?
what is the content plan? At the end of the day, the goal should be to bring in prospects. The goal of marketing for everything at the end of the day is to generate revenue for the company. It's to support the top line. Ask them how the content, what they will be doing will support that. How will it help sales? How will it help bring more leads, etc., etc.
Okay. All right. Anything else about content marketing? Bane of my existence.
This is the nutshell for a 9-year-old, like you asked. I can say a lot more about content marketing, but that's
any like parting points you want to make.
I think the main parting, one of the interesting things about content marketing is that you need to also address another challenge, which is the audience attention span. When I started back doing customer videos, for example, 20 years ago, they used to be 4, 5, 6 minutes long. Today, a 60 to 90 seconds video is considered okay. 2 minutes is borderline long. People's attention span is shortening. It goes for videos, it goes for written content, etc. You need to get to the point much faster and understand what the customer or the prospect really wants and address it.
Okay. All right. Makes sense. Okay. You'll have to raise your hand because I had to put everyone on mute. Thank you, Alon.
Thank you.
Mark. All right, my man. Mark, what's your topic?
A CMO as a linchpin.
All right. I knew someone was going to get to that one eventually. That's like the candied apple of this entire list.
Well, I was going to talk about a different one, but I thought I'd tackle the CMO linchpin because I may be able to bring something else in there. So let's start off. So as a 9-year-old, CMO is a linchpin. I think first defining what a CMO is.
Yeah, I've got a lot of managers in this company. I've got a lot of like VP or C-level folks, right? I got someone who's taking care of finance, and I got someone who's taking care of sales. We got someone in operations. I got a CTO. Why the CMO is linchpin?
For a couple of reasons. I think the first reason is customers' expectations are changing rapidly. You need to have a voice at the table, and that voice needs to be fine-tuned and connected to your customers. And that's, in essence, that's the CMO's job. He or she needs to be the voice of the customer at that table. So as the business is making decisions, strategic decisions around where the company is going, why should we pursue adjacent strategies, new products, new services, double down in a certain market, go globally, stay regionally, the CMO should be answering those questions or have a voice at the table, which becomes the linchpin. And he or she should be continued to be viewed as the voice of the customer. And they can't be viewed as the voice of the customer unless they're doing the work with the customer and consistently getting in the market, understanding, investing in understanding the customer's voice, whether that's coming through the web, whether that's sitting down face to face with a customer, whether that's a key OKR the CMO holds for himself or herself and the rest of their team. How many customers did you speak to this quarter, and what did you hear? And how does it impact the strategy that we're working towards? Well, how does it start to put new information or new diverse thoughts that we need to be thinking about as the strategy continues to unfold? The second piece is from a linchpin perspective. The CMO
Right.
needs to understand with the CEO, where is that business? Is that are you looking for a sales-driven type of CMO to support a sales-driven organization where there's a lot of campaigning, integration, a lot of execution around leads and qualified pipeline and SQL? Or are you a strategic CMO that you're trying to guide the organization now into a new direction? How do you do that? Very different skill set from someone who's coming in to support. And I'm going to use this just as an example. But if you're coming in to support a Xerox-led organization, you're probably coming in as more of a sales side CMO to support the execution. If you're coming in as a CMO that's now looking at an organization to expand, get into new markets adjacent, you're probably more on the strategic side. And vice versa, if you're coming in as like at a CMO to basically now start building the actual process, it's a different skill set of coming in and figuring out what is the right org structure needs to look like, what's the right investment. I've got a TAM of 5 billion. Well, that's great, but how do you actually lay out the pieces in there to say we're not going to get to 10% of that TAM with the budget we have, but we're going to get to 2% of the TAM, and we need to be comfortable with 2% of that particular TAM or whatever it is. So it's that type of CMO in saying, again, using the voice of the customer, using the market dynamics, where the market is going, putting those together. And when we're saying, hey, let's grow at 10%, timeout. No, we don't have the budget, nor do we have the team, nor do we have the ability to grow at 10% today. But if that's what we want to be in 3 years, how does the CMO linchpin now set up the organization to go and run at that pace? So a number of things around the beginning to really the key focus of being that linchpin is the voice of the customer, and continuing to ask the CEO for investment in the voice of the customer in their research, continuing to do it, but also asking the CEO to be locked sort of in step as to how else can I be supporting this evangelization of the customer.
So
go ahead.
I have a question. Don't you think that the head of sales would say that they're the voice of the customer?
No, they're the voice of the customer who is in a buying motion. And that is a customer salesperson being in the pipeline, being given qualified pipeline to go sell to a customer who is in that 5% vector of buying now. Right. The 95% of the customers say, I don't know that problem. I don't know if I have that problem. But that's where the linchpin of the CMO comes in and say, hey, let me help you understand that problem better. Let me help you, sell that problem in your organization so it bubbles up as one of the key projects. Because if you solve it, here's the ROI you can actually deliver. So while sales have a view of the 5% that's in buying, I think the CMO and their organization holds the next 95%, which really guides the organization as to where they put their investment and their budgets.
All right. And do you think sales thinks they're the voice of the customer? You've just explained why they're not.
I think they are contributing voice into that, and in the CMO being the linchpin, he or she should not alienate any voices in the organization, but they should be the glue to bringing out different voices and different elements of what that customer DNA is made up of. And sales being a key contributor to it, that CMO should be closely tied to sales in extracting that information. But it's not a one-to-one sort of street in the actual C-suite. Is a CMO, you need to be working through different elements of it to figure out, even with the CTO, what are you hearing from the Gartner world around where technology is going, and where's cloud going? So you factor as a CMO and say, okay, do we have that type of thinking in our tech stack? So it's really a multitude, but he or she needs to continue to own the voice. When there's something happening with that customer, that linchpin goes back and say, no, That is not what we've been hearing in the marketplace. Here's what we've been hearing. But if you have a real belief that that's where the market is going, give us some time to investigate that and come back to you with a hypothesis that either says, yeah, we go, or no, we don't.
All right. Now, all right. So if I have a CMO who's sort of like making the case that marketing, and by extension the CMO, is the linchpin for the company's sort of forward velocity and what direction to go in, what's the one question I want to ask so that I can tell if that CMO like knows what they're talking about or is trying to snow me?
What's the one question you can ask the CEO, or the CEO is asking the CMO?
Yeah, the CEO would ask the CMO.
How do we continue to unlock value with our customers and ensure that we're always staying one step ahead of them?
What does it mean to unlock value?
And good call up, because of speaking to 9-year-olds here. So let me go back and remove that word unlock. So to unlock value would be, how do we actually just ensure that what we're selling and the ROI that we're delivering into that particular space is truly impactful and it's quantifiable. So, whether that's simple things of improving workflows to reduce costs, take costs out of workflows, improve productivity, remove certain elements within a workflow that's causing increased costs, whether it be people or people being the big one. But it's really all those value type drivers in there that if the CEO is asking the CMO is, the key question would be, how do we continue to deliver value, manage that value, and create value? And I think he or she, as a CMO, needs to really be able to articulate what is it that they're doing around those 3 steps.
Okay. All right. That's great. That's awesome. Thanks. All right.
Thank you.
Who's got a topic they want to tackle? Thanks, Mark. Tom. 1 second, Tom. What's your topic, sir?
I will take marketing as the hub of the business.
For 900? Gotcha. Done.
For 900, Dean.
Marketing, hub of the business. Yes, sir. Go.
So marketing today is a lot different than marketing 10 years ago. And I would say sales used to be the hub of the business, but now I see marketing as, let's say, a football coach, the offensive coach, and sometimes the defensive coach for a football team, where sales and the head of sales is the quarterback. They're calling the plays on the ground, but marketing's taking a look at the competition. They're taking a look at what happened last week. They're taking a look at the player fitness. They're taking a look at what plays worked, what plays didn't. They're constantly updating the programming and taking a look at the environment in the game environment and the next matchup and what that looks like. So it becomes a much more strategic role around the business, in that it along the lines of what we just went through, actually, which is it's a linchpin. It's really representing the customer, but it's the whole market. And it's almost better to think of marketing as market when you're not talking about advertising and promotion. It's really bringing that intelligence to the entire business, to the customer success team, to the product team, right? All of these things, all of those different departments are customer facing. And just because they're customer facing, they're all bringing back bits of information at different levels, different times, about competitors, about everything in marketing. Marketing's job is to assemble that and make sense out of it, and then deliver it as consistent updates to the story, to the narrative, and to the plays that the company is executing against.
Okay, so a couple questions. I'm a founder CEO who likes things explained, like I'm a 9-year-old. My buddy, another founder, said that you don't even really need marketing anymore because you can do product-led growth.
So product-led growth is very interesting. It requires a more of a technical marketing or product marketing um, skill set. So you're going to want to find a marketing leader with that skill set, with
Mhm.
product-led growth experience, but it's still absolutely marketing. It's saying what in this product is someone going to want to share, or how are we going to connect to other people who are similar through the product to make it grow through the product, not through traditional advertising, content marketing, sponsorship, that sort of I guess the traditional look at what marketing does, which is from either paid or earned or organic promotion. So it's product promotion,
So you're
leveraging the product
building
to do
marketability into the product design.
correct.
Okay.
So it still is marketing. It's just a different flavor of marketing that network products allow us to do.
And instead of being like marketing as the hub of the business or a marketing-led business, can't they just hire more salespeople?
You can always hire more salespeople,
There are
but
sales-led businesses, right?
are those salespeople going to be successful? Or are they going to go out and prospect for themselves? And today, because 70% in business to business environments, 70% of research is done before anyone
Mm-hmm.
speaks to a salesperson, that 70% is a huge opportunity to educate,
Right.
to train, to create an advisory relationship with a potential prospect. And that's really the job of content marketing. And get in front of them before they're ready to buy, so that when they are ready to buy, they know who to turn to. And when they do reach out to a salesperson, that salesperson can obviously do the tactical, here, you're in the deal cycle, but all of the research beforehand is marketing's job. So it's almost impossible to say you can just run a business on sales after the first 20 customers.
Right. All right. So let me wrap this up. So I'm the CEO/founder. I like understanding things at a 9-year-old level. What grade is a 9-year-old in? 4? I think 4.
9-year-old is
4.
fourth grade, yeah.
And okay. And so I'm talking to a potential or recently hired fractional CMO. We get onto the idea of like a marketing as the hub of the business. And what's the question that I can ask that fractional CMO that's going to make me sound really smart?
Has the fractional CMO actually worked in a different part of the business? Do they understand how that different part of the business operates? Because they've spent time there. If they refer to other departments as other departments and they're not looking at them like they're all part of a go-to-market team and they all have different parts to play in that go-to-market strategy,
Gotcha.
that's a red flag that the marketing person is very contained in their world of marketing rather than they are trying to represent the bigger environment of the market.
All right. Anything else from me, sir?
That's all I got on that topic.
All right. Let me bring up the topics again. Thank you, Tom. I think I can unmute everybody at this point. Yasmin, what's your topic? Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry, you're the one person I forgot to. Sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Naturally, the only person I forgot to unmute is the one person I would call on. That's just how it works.
No worries. I was gonna choose marketing as the hub of the business, but Tom, you did that so well, so I'm gonna pick measurement and KPIs if that's okay.
Possibly the least sexy of all topics.
I
The one with
know.
the fewest takers.
But
Let's
still
try
very
that.
important.
Yep. So if I was to explain that to my 9-year-olds, what I would say would be, imagine you're running and you have an end line or a finish line to get to. You've got obviously, a goal. Your goal is to get to that finish line. However, how do you figure out if you're improving over time? So yes, you can get to the finish line, but how about if we try and put a target of time to that? The best way to figure out measurements and KPIs is to be able to identify what is it that's going to make an increase or a change, what's affecting the speed that you get to that finish line. So if we were to take running, I'd say, okay, great. Let's look at the number of rounds that you're going to do. Let's look at the speed at which you're going to do your turns. And then let's figure out how is it that we're going to improve that. Because from the get-go, you might say, you know what, I'm going to get, the whole equipment. I'm going to get the best shoes and the best, shorts and the best, I don't know what. And I'm going to run on, inside versus outside. I'm not a runner, so please don't use that against me. But that would be, I think, one way to express measurements and what is that we're going to improve to be able to get to our goal, as fast as we can. So thinking through the lens of time, you're going to say, great, like the first time it took me 3 minutes to get to my finish line. What are the, micro KPIs that are indicators that I'm actually getting better over time?
Right.
Is it just time? Is it time versus, the time versus the round, like how many turns I've actually had to get to my end line? So I think that would be really one of the easiest way to get somebody to understand KPIs and to be able to understand what is that they need to improve.
If I'm this founder / CEO, right?
Yeah.
At a minimum, what are the 1 or 2 or as many as 3? Like, what are the 1, 2, or 3 metrics out of marketing that I should always pay attention to see if we're getting better or worse in some way? Like, what should I be scared of if something is changing in the wrong direction?
I mean, it's obviously, I like to be able to measure the KPIs along all of the funnel. So all of the buying journey and every step of that funnel. So from the time that you're educating a customer through to the time that, you're getting them interested, they're considering, they're ready to make a decision, they're now activated, they're onboarding, and we get through to the retention and referral process. So those are all, for me, key metrics that should be in place from the get-go. And the sooner you can put them in place, the sooner the dog. The sooner you can put them in place. He's not going to stop. Sorry. The sooner you're going to put them in place, the sooner you're going to have the data points to actually provide a benchmark as to what's improving, what's not improving, because they're all indicating something at different stages of that journey.
So are you going to ask me to buy you some kind of software or platform so you can automatically track where people are?
If you don't have a baseline CRM, I think that you're obviously, if you're running out of Excel sheets, I would say, yes, invest into a CRM and set this up in a way that you can actually track all of your metrics or the baseline metrics. Because an ARR or an MRR or a retention is not enough. Like, they're all related to context. You need to be able to have an initial benchmark and to be able to say, okay, where can we improve? What are indicators that, red flags, that there are something that needs to be digged into and look deeper into that. So just looking at number of, like, the pipeline is just not enough. Looking at the number of closed one per month is just not enough. So it's always going to be measuring over time. So how did we do last month? How did we do last year, last quarter? So you're looking at seasonality, you're looking at different elements that could affect. So just basing yourself on just number of customers, ARR is just not enough, or MRR is just not enough. We need to be able to look at a full set of metrics that are owned by marketing and sales and customer success. Hence, the whole marketing as a hub. It's not one or the other. It's really everybody collectively looking at the same data points to be able to decide how can we all help? How can each of our departments and function support those numbers and support our goals?
So there's a better than average chance that if I'm a CEO founder and I don't have any experience in marketing, the only metric I've ever heard of is Net Promoter Score.
Sorry. Yes.
So can you explain what Net Promoter Score is and how it's measured, and do I need to care about it?
You do need to care about it because it is an indicator of whether or not people would actually refer, let's say, your product to a friend. So it's one number that could be a good indicator of whether it works. So if you're still, that early founder, early startup, and you're looking to figure out if you have product market fit, depending if you're in B2B or B2C, um, you would look at a net promoter score to kind of assess whether or not your product is bringing value to your customers. And it could flag, it's just that one question of, let's say, would you refer that to a friend? And just even from that question, you'd get a sense of, okay, is there something off with the product? Or you could have it graded from 1 to 10. How much would you grade that? And then anything that's below an 8, you need to look back and figure out what's wrong with the product and reestablish product market fit. So it's a good indicator, but it's not the only metric.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to make sure I understand a point that you made in your answer. You said that it's an indicator of whether we're delivering value to the customers, but it literally can't be that, right? It isn't it, and I'm no expert in NPS, but isn't it more accurate to say that it's a measurement of whether the customers think you're delivering value as opposed to a measurement of if you're delivering value?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
And should I care?
I would say so.
Like, how much should I care about NPS? It's the only one I know, right? Our fictional CEO. It's the only one I've ever heard of.
Yeah, it's not
How is
going
it
to be
measured
enough
exactly?
to.
Do I have to hire a company to measure it for me, or what?
No, you would be able to send out a survey on a Google Doc and just ask your customers and survey your customers. So that's probably an easy process. The same way that you could actually implement a software if you're in B2B and oldie B2B SaaS or B2C SaaS even, and have a pop-up, at some point after you've established that they should have seen value, or after their first, let's say, month of subscription, to kind of see, hey, is this really working for you or not?
Okay. And there are some marketing metrics like ad performance and downloads and that clicks and stuff where they can be literally tracked second by second.
Yeah.
But NPS, how often, like at a minimum, would a marketing department sort of like want their at a minimum like get their NPS score like updated?
I have no idea, but I would do that regularly, as the product shifts or depending on how long your customer lifetime cycle is. What I wouldn't do is not every time that, that same customer makes a transaction, he shouldn't get, a survey that pops up to say, hey, do you love us? So no, like I'm going to get sick of you asking me that same question. So there needs to be, tools in place so that you can really segment down and hone in on that ideal customer profile and send those people that survey so that, again, you're not trying to get an answer, you're trying to get a segmented answer as opposed to, are we the best fit for everyone?
So if I'm that CEO founder and I remember to go ask what our NPS is today, and it hasn't been updated in 6 months, do I care or not care?
That's a very good question.
All my questions are very good.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome. I mean, I don't,
I'm good at being dumb.
I would say, yeah.
I'm such a boy.
I'm not the right marketer for that. Ask somebody else.
Does anybody else have an opinion on the minimum duration between NPS updates?
6 months should be good. But
Casey's got a strong opinion.
Yeah, go for it.
Got it. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Dean, you're driving me crazy because there's so many things I want to just scream out, and everyone's doing such a great job. It's like, ah! So the reason I want to talk about NPS, because it was a big deal. We had 8,000 customers, 400,000 users, right? So they're a pretty big company. And we sent out a lot of marketing. There's a lot of things going out. So one of the biggest concerns we had, NPS was very important, by the way, too, at different times, right? When you're seeing churn and things like that, NPS is a huge thing that's going on. But what we determined was marketing had to be very careful with tech support updates and emails, is that the last thing a customer wants is another form to fill out or another question being asked. That was That was the key there. And we did it, I want to say about every 6 months we did it, but it was planned out. We put it in a calendar too. I wanted to make sure that, look, I don't want anything going out to the customer for 3 weeks. I want to make sure I get the NPS score back. And it was absolutely important. And that'll go to something else that's also interviewing your customers, have them tell you what's working, what's not. But anyway, yeah, so yes.
I've worked in SaaS, and actually putting an NPS widget on the user screens when they log in is a great way to do it without actually sending them another communication where they can just click a box and the widget goes away.
Okay.
Great point, Tom.
Which you can do almost continuously.
Yeah.
So like micro surveying, basically.
Yeah. It's a constant heartbeat on your user base. And then it didn't reappear for another 2 months, I think, per user. So we could record who responded and who didn't.
So Yasmin, what's my takeaway? Like, if our meeting is winding down, me and this fractional CMO, like, what's my takeaway? What's the one question I want to make sure I ask and get a killer answer to around metrics and KPIs?
Do you have the right tool stack in place to be able to measure the baseline numbers from the get-go?
Okay.
Yeah.
And the tools will actually take care of some of the math and statistics, validity and stuff for me, right?
If you set them up correctly. It's like, those are like...
That's only mildly terrifying. So thanks very much.
Yeah.
I might end up with numbers that are like very different than what they actually are.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. We got a little bit of time left. Does anyone want like one last swing of the bat? One other topic? Can I tell you the most unloved topic of the entire thing? Having done 2 of these sessions now, campaigns are the only topic that I think no one's ever talked on. And no takers today either.
It's almost too big and too, like, you could speak to it like it's a Wikipedia article, but without more specificity. It's really hard to describe that.
All right, then in the last 6 minutes, does anyone want to take on all customers are people first?
I'm happy to do that one.
Okay.
So
6 minutes. Let's roll.
All customers are people. They are not numbers. They are not statistics. They are not leads. They are not prospects. They are people. And one of the real keys of an advanced marketing program is really understanding why people buy. And those principles of why people buy anything don't change. They haven't changed since the Victorian era. People buy for the same reasons. There are emotional benefits, there are logical benefits, there are societal benefits to making a purchase, and the underpinning, that's really what the key to marketing is hitting on those basic fundamental buying instincts of somebody. It happens in sales clearly, but being able to bring the elements of buying behaviors and buying habits into marketing really makes marketing programs resonate. And then you can actually start to talk about campaigns and how they affect things. So buying habits have changed. People do things a little bit differently than they did before COVID. But the fundamentals of why we buy really haven't. So if you treat people like, if you treat a developer in the same way you treat a sales leader when you're selling different pieces of, say, software to them or selling consumer packaged goods to them, they're going to have a need to make that purchase. And that's really what you wanted to hit on. What's the need? How are we going to uncover the need that we're banding together around from a product and market perspective? But just understanding that people are human and they have human tendencies, and that drives their need to not buy or buy at any specific time. It humanizes all of our processes and all of our thinking. And it allows us to stop taking a look at aggregate metrics and start taking a look at the real reasons, the wins, the losses, and the stories that go along with those, because that really contributes to great narratives and great sales rebuttals, to great playbooks, really hitting on the one thing, not just describing your product, describing it in context for the customer and their needs.
I tell when I'm doing the top level copywriting for clients, I say in B2C, I'm trying to get exactly one reaction at the end of all this, which is I need that. And in B2B, I tell them the one reaction I'm trying to get is my manager should talk to these guys. And like, that's it. I said, anything else is just, subject to that goal. By the way, what's on the screen now, if you can read it, is the only time in my entire life watching a documentary. It's the only time in my life I've ever yelled bullshit at a screen. Because there was a documentary and they were talking about how like 99% of human history was spent in the Stone Age. And I said, bullshit. And I went and looked it up. And like, holy God, I can't believe that. 99% of all of our brain's evolution is in the Stone Age. And the way I explain it to my clients now is I mostly specialize in the first couple or 3 seconds of somebody's attention. Like that's basically what I write for. Everything else I write is just sort of like another 3 seconds. And I say, even in B2B, the first moments of attention are always Stone Age attention. So I only care about urgency or difference in the environment. Like you imagine like you're walking into like, part of the woods you've never been in before, right? You're checking to make sure you're not about to die. You're checking to see like what's different than like what I know before, what's changed, right? Yeah, I'm looking at anything that's interesting, but I can postpone or put off investigating it for a bit. And then everything else is just background and I can ignore it. And there's no difference between somebody doing that 100,000 years ago and somebody sitting in front of their Gmail inbox and looking at like the top 20 emails that are currently in there. Like, is there anything urgent? Do I have something from my boss? Is there something that's kind of like interesting or novel or entertaining? Is there something that I know I have to read it, but it's going to require some focused attention, a bit of time. I only have 9 minutes to my next meeting. So I'll just mark it back as unread, right? It's already marked as read. I'm going to unread it and then like just leave it there. And then everything else is just like junk.
Yep.
Nothing.
The only other basic fundamental is FOMO. Is someone else doing it and I should be doing it too?
Yeah.
Which is taking a bigger and bigger role, but they're all fundamental prioritization and emotional reactions to things.
All right. So we've hit our end. Does anyone have any last thoughts? Does anyone want to roll us out? Everybody's anxious to get into the weekend. What do we got? Anybody have a last comment they want to make or a parting shot? Or just to remind all CEOs and founders they shouldn't be 9 years old. Anything. Go ahead for
it. I'd like to say, yes, Tom, what you were saying, I wanted to very, very quickly at the very beginning. Yes, understand your market, understand who you're talking to, make that emotional connection, right? We all agree on that. So that was like how you started off with what people are. Understand who they are, make that emotional connection with them. In Dean's case, in 3 seconds. So.
Yeah. There was some politician.
3 seconds is a good time.
Yeah, there was some politician. I think they were on the right side of the spectrum or the businessy side of the spectrum. There was some politician when I was a kid, a teenager, and it's the only line I remember from like politics at all when I was a teenager, where someone some kind of debate or something, and I was like, yeah, but the guy said, yeah, but ultimately, y'all need to understand, right? There's only one. You talk about layers of government, and there's federal, and there's like state, and there's municipal. There's only one layer of taxpayer. And so everything else is just piled up on top of that taxpayer. So it helps a lot to just simplify that ultimately there's a person with a job or a little business who has to buy something. And all of the other things that we put around it doesn't change the fact that there's just one person looking at one thing at one time. And can we move that person from A to B? And beyond that, like everything else is just like layers of management on top of it. Except for Net Promoter Score, which is Yasmin's like favorite ever metric, for whom she is like a wonderful proponent. All right. That's all I got.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Have a
you.
great
Thank you.
Thank you,
And everyone
Mark.
else.
Thank you, Alon.
Have
Thank
a
you,
good weekend.
Sarah, Yasmin, Casey. I
Lovely
really
to meet
appreciate it,
you.
guys. Have a good weekend.
You as well.
Thanks, guys.